let's get back to this issue of the criminal anti-cybercrime law. During off-cam, we were discussing the various issues. Of course, we'd like to get clarification on the takedown provision. We mentioned the Carpio comment on the possible unconstitutionality. You mentioned Peralta's comment on the additional penalties, which really is a violation because it's a new law. It comes out, yung mga penalties na yun creates a problem for the law itself, right?
Actually, yes, because it follows the penalties, the penal code.
Yeah.
And it says that if you have this amount of time, you have an additional penalty. And actually, all of us, all of the lawyers in the 15 petitions were a bit, well, we were a bit embarrassed that we didn't think about it. Because that's a very compelling issue. So that means
compelling issue that would nullify legally the law?
We would like to think so.
It
but
can.
But we weren't the ones that raised it.
That's right.
And what happens is, if all of the people who are accused of cyber libel cannot run for any position, then we're going to have a problem in May.
Okay.
In the elections.
Maybe that's a solution to our problem. Yeah. Now, one of the big issues that came out in the papers is the cyberbullying. Yes. But you tell me it's not even provided for in the law itself. So, my reaction then when I thought about it, and I didn't know that it doesn't really appear in the law itself, is that how many are bullied on the internet? There are hundreds of millions of users. How many are really bullied? It's a 0.0. I checked it on the internet, and a few hundred cases all over the world a year. What I know, many people are bullied by is by politicians, not by internet users. But Justice Leonen chose to hammer on that. I wonder why. I thought it was so inappropriate. And then, of course, Sereno on the abuses and so on. Again, the abuses I know are data mining, banks and consumer companies texting me and emailing me from data I don't know where they got, which is probably from internet mining, data mining.
And those crimes are not covered by the cybercrime law. That's one thing that we keep on telling us members of PIFA. We are not against a cybercrime law. We would like these issues addressed. Phishing, identity theft, even cyberbullying.
Cyber phishing is phishing for data.
Yeah, phishing for data and information. These are real cyber crimes.
And not ordinary people do that. It's some corporations, companies who are trying to sell stuff and so on. And then, of course, the intelligence agencies all over the world are, it's known everywhere that they're doing it, the CIA and so on. Is Echelon part of it? I don't know if you're familiar. Echelon is a intelligence system in the U.S. that mines billions of data every day. Go ahead.
Actually, our version of Echelon will be Section 12 of that
law.
The law, because that's what we call electronic surveillance. Because what happens is our problem with Section 12 is that every time you go online, it's as if you have the government looking over your shoulder, looking at what you're looking at. So
the law authorizes them to do that.
Yes.
But they can do that without the law also, and in fact they're doing that.
But
with the law, they have a cover.
Yes.
They can cover their ass if somebody finds out.
Yes.
Okay. So that's crucial. Okay, let's ask Alvin. Alvin, what do you have to add to the discussion here on these issues? Cyberbullying. My feeling is it's not an issue.
Yes.
In fact, maybe the real answer to cyberbullying is to have a law against bullying in specific terms. No?
I think cyberbullying and bullying in a general case. Psychology dictates that bullying is a phenomenon done by people that are insecure, and they project themselves to another person. Most of the time, this is not actually a problem of the law. This is a problem of an environmental case. So, why should a law be the parent when parents should be handling it for most cases? So, I think laws are made to help people, not to baby them.
Yeah, but I think one of the points now I recall that is important is that government really is ill-equipped to police cyberspace. And I think the cyber community has been successful, including the cyber companies like Google and so on, and Yahoo. For example, the spam problem. It was solved by having that spam, what do you call that, item, menu, where you just click and you put it there. And, I used to get hundreds, if not thousands, a day. And, you want to erase each one of them, it'll take half a day. But now, you click it once and put it in the spam, forever they're out of your life already.
Yes, actually. That is an issue that was raised by this famous cyber law lawyer, professor, Yale professor, Lawrence Lessig.
Lessig, yes,
Yes.
I remember that.
And he's famous for coining the statement, code is law. And when he speaks code, he speaks of the coding of programs online. So there is no need for a real law passed by Congress to regulate the internet because it's self-regulating.
Yes.
And how do you regulate it? You regulate it through law. So he warned that what we should be looking out for is when government or big business starts going into the code.
Yeah.
When it dictates the code, then it dictates on the internet. It's good for us that last December, there was a meeting of the International Telecommunications Union. Okay, it's this international organization. It's really quiet, but it holds the power to regulate the internet through the telcos.
Telcos, yeah.
And so somebody gave them the idea. Okay, let's give control over the internet to China, to Russia, to Saudi Arabia. Yes. And fortunately, that was struck down. And we have to thank people from Google, from Yahoo, because they were all totally against it. And they were able to stop this sort of cyber martial law worldwide. And that happened in December.
Okay. I think we have a good picture already of the situation. And given that you're waiting for an extension of the TRO, so we can only wait and then listen into the next oral arguments. You will expect anything, a new twists in the debates and arguments there?
Well, the Office of the Solicitor General already filed with the Supreme Court a 173-page comment answering all 15. Now, I must say that this pleading was very masterfully crafted by the Solicitor General, Francis Hardlesa, who also happens to be my professor in constitutional law. And I expect him to, well, he would defend the law, but he would also defend the rights of netizens. So let's wait and see on how he's going to argue to preserve whatever he can of the cybercrime law.
I also have some acquaintance with Hardlesa, not personally, but through the legal cases he has handled. I identify him as a corporate lawyer, and we have clashed on the issues of electricity and so on. But that's the way it goes. Okay, so we have some time now to discuss other issues, such as, for example, Nines Cacho Olivares of Tribune assailed the Solicitor General for saying that bloggers are journalists. What's your reaction? I agree completely with Nines Cacho Olivares because journalists have certain ethical standards which I don't think hold for bloggers. Are we correct here?
Yes.
So what are bloggers? They're just netizens going about their regular activities on the internet. That's a very general term, no? Any way to define the bloggers?
A blogger is technically a person that writes about his activities on the net. So
Yeah.
basically, a person
Because
doing
a blog
journal.
is a web log. It's a
Yes.
web diary.
Yes.
Ano?
So
I wouldn't do that because I don't want my daily affairs to be known. But
Yeah.
there are hundreds of millions doing it. You know? And I observe amusing situations where friends become enemies because in their free expression of what they think during the day, they don't know that they're stepping on the toes and on the faces of their friends already. Nag-aaway sila. Why would, I don't know, why do people want to...
I think the confusion between blogger and journalist is because there are bloggers.
We're not calling themselves, what do they call it? Blog journalists or
Citizen journalist.
citizen
Yeah.
journalists?
Some of them, there are bloggers that are actually doing their due diligence.
Okay.
So they have their ethics as well.
Yes.
Some, but not all of them.
But how are they binding? We can be sued as journalists on the basis of libel laws, as we already have.
I
But
think
bloggers,
that's the difference
Yeah.
that differentiates them is the fact that bloggers are not yet encompassed by any laws. Even though they may define themselves as journalists, most of them are not. Some of them do act in the same decorum as journalists by doing their due diligence.
In
and
fact, we owe a lot to
articles.
some of the bloggers in strife-torn areas where they're the only ones left reporting on war and so on. So
Yeah, so the differentiator here is that there is no law encompassing them. But if we're going to define the cybercrime law as that law, it's not really an optimal law because it's too constraining. And I think the current form of the cybercrime law is more motivated with a political agenda in mind. Especially it's the coming elections. So if somebody were to do a smear campaign, they would be liable in libel. And this would make it easier for our politicians to actually do their trade if there was no cybercrime law.
well, I really don't know why some politicians are so sensitive about that. Sticks and stones may break my bones,
Yes.
but words will never hurt me. The saying goes. Well, there are private parties that don't want to be splattered all over the internet. What can they do about that? If we don't have a law yet, is a law necessary for situations like that?
Well, if they don't want
Do we really have that numerous cases, that many cases of these? I'm not aware of that many cases. No.
Actually, the NBI director who was part in the crafting of the law, Mr. C, Hieronymo C.
Yeah.
What happened was he told some of the people in our group that as for cyber libel, there's a long line of cases that they accepted but cannot act on because of the TRO.
Okay.
And we were trying to ask from him, so how many, well, we can't tell you because we're not supposed to act on it. We're just supposed to accept. But there's quite a number already.
Okay.
So, well, it's our stand that you can already sue someone for libel using the old libel laws.
That's right. Yeah.
Although I myself am with Attorney Harry Roque that the criminal libel should be scrapped. Because
decriminalization is the...
and we should clarify that when we decriminalize libel, we're not removing libel from our law books because there's still civil libel.
Yeah.
So what happens is it just says that the punishment for libel should only be fine or damages that
But
can be recovered.
sometimes going to jail is better than the civil damages because I was sued by the Lopezes when I was criticizing the toll fees they were charging, and they sued me for 110 million pesos, which I was not worried about because they cannot collect from me anyway. But they had to pay 1 million filing fee at least, no?
Yes.
They hated me that much. But I wasn't worried. I was defending public interest, you know. Anyway, nothing came of their case, and they just lost ₱1 million. But we have 1 minute to go. We have to wrap up. Well, I hope the legal case against the criminal and derelict, I think, they were very derelict in crafting that law, that it has given us all problems when we're paying them to do the job of legislating, di ba? So what are your final words, Attorney and Alvin?
Well, our point is that this law cannot be amended. That's the stand of PIFA, one of the 15 petitioners. This law cannot be amended. The reason why we're asking the Supreme Court to rule on it is so that to tell the Congress that they should not repeat what they did in crafting this law. Because the words that we use is that it's susceptible of repetition. So whatever you did in crafting this law, don't do it again.
Okay. And Alvin?
I think I would like to enforce what he said. The part on my end is that Congress and Senate don't understand the technology behind it. They're crafting a law that they, on a space they do not understand, which I do believe is not part of their mandate. Our laws state that there should be initial research in crafting a law, but they're going through this with nothing and just showing how ignorant they are of the space they're actually trying to regulate.
That's right. Well, they should stick to what they know, squandering over money.
And leave these other issues to us or to you people who know about it. Maraming salamat po and have a good weekend. We really enjoyed this discussion with Alvin and Attorney Thompson. Mabuhay po kayo and we hope victory for the 15. I hear here it's already 16 petitions.
Yes, but they didn't accept the 16th yet.
Okay, so we'll wait for the next oral arguments and we'll get together again, maybe with other members of your alliance to discuss this when, we have more minutes, so we have 3 minutes. I thought we had only 1 minute, so let's elaborate.
Okay.
Let's go now to the general picture. How many really use the internet in the Philippines today?
According to Facebook, there are 26 million Facebook users. Assuming there are duplicates there should be at least 13 million.
But 1-3 or 3-0?
1-3, 13.
1-3, okay.
13 million. That's assuming that there's a 50% that there are duplicate accounts on Facebook.
Okay.
But there's also people that are not on Facebook. So let's say there should...
Twitter, they're
yes.
in Twitter and others, yeah.
So I would assume there would be a disparity of around 40 to 50% with that computation. So that would be around 10 to 18 million people are really on the internet. Some might be just doing their stuff on Multiply or other social networks, or just using email or searching stuff on the net. With that big number, I think it will still grow because currently mobile internet is being targeted by both Smart and Globe. So they're expanding in that horizon. And mobile phones are much higher penetration than computers in...
So mobile phones are also cyberspace?
Yes.
Now, yes.
Okay. Now they've corrected the time again. We have 1 minute left. So,
Okay.
Dito sa cyber, sa oral arguments, we will assume that it will be extended because if it's not extended, then we're in trouble, right?
Yes.
So
because we have to file our memorandum. Because in the past oral arguments, only 8 issues out of 23 that were raised were discussed. So just because there were 8 issues, that does not mean that they're just going to rule on the 8 issues. They're going to rule on all 23 issues that were raised.
So talagang kailangan mag-extend, no? So we will assume that. Okay, I will make my second thank you to you. At, have a good weekend po and watch out for the next episode. We'll have maybe the discussion on the money squabble of the legislators already. Okay, so saan ang law office mo?
Actually, I'm just
Your
private practice.
Private practice, okay. Give me your card. So,
Okay.
and I'm still waiting for your hit game. Ano bang na-develop ba na? Meron ka na na-develop na ano?
More or less, we were the first Filipino